All right, we all know if we're ever tried to develop a habit that we need a reward for performing the habit, right? The action is not going to become a habit unless there's a reward that's immediate, pretty well directly after we've performed the action. And so with that in mind, a lot of people have decided that they're going to choose a reward. And this is what I would call a concocted reward, something that isn't direct consequence of performing the action. It's something made up, right? And so we have things like, okay, you're going to exercise. You really want to exercise, so what are you going to reward yourself with after you exercise? Well, you're going to say maybe I'm going to watch more TV because, I like watching TV. So if I exercise, then I get a chance to watch more TV. I'm going to add, half hour or something to my TV watching time. Or I'm going to have something sweet, like I'm going to have a smoothie, or I'm going to have a donut or a muffin or something. After I exercise, I'm going to go to the coffee shop and have a coffee and a sweet treat. But only if I exercise. And or you're just going to go out and buy something, right? Okay, I exercise for every day this week, so therefore I deserve a new shirt or a pair of pants or blouse or whatever it is, right? Well, that's a bit of a problem, because if you're going to have to reward yourself with something that doesn't have anything to do with the action you just performed, then it takes more discipline, right? If it's something that you really want, the discipline is required is to not do the thing unless you perform the action. Or if it's something that is, it's even, then you still have to do both things. And you have to make sure that you focus on the try and connect the action with the reward that has nothing to do with the action itself, which is a little difficult. And it takes more time because you have to do the one thing and then you have to do the other thing, or right? So just performing one thing and then having to perform something else just so that you can encourage yourself to do the original thing doesn't seem to be too logical to me. But anyway, that's just me. And basically, when you do this, it's just fake, right? It's made up. You're trying to do something, it's concocted, right? You're trying to do something that is supposedly going to encourage you to do the action that you want to become a habit enough times to develop the first thing as a habit. Basically, what you end up doing, of course, is making the desired thing the habit, and eventually usually fade off with the original desire to do the first thing, right? So now then there's the other perspective, right? So if you're going to reward yourself with something that has nothing to do with the action, then you have two options. You're going to reward yourself with something that's beneficial, or you're going to reward yourself with something that isn't beneficial, that's detrimental to your health or well-being. Right? So if we talk about exercise, we talked about that already. We talked about exercise, then, okay, so you're going to reward yourself with a healthy food thing. Like people think smoothies are healthy for you. If that's what you believe, then you're going to have yourself a smoothie after you exercise. Well, is this smoothie good for you, or is the smoothie not good for you? I mean, if it's good for you, then why limit the access to it by saying you can only have it once you've exercised? I mean, if it's good for you, it's good for you, right? Just have it, right? That's a good habit to have if it's good for you. I don't understand. Why limit it? It's concocted, right? The two don't have anything to do with each other, and both of them are beneficial, so you're going to limit the access to one only if you perform the other. Doesn't seem logical. The other option is if it's detrimental, you're going to have a donut, like we talked about before. Well, then what happens is you say you really want the donut, so you exercise a few times, and then the thought goes through your mind, well, I'm going to exercise sometime today. right? So why don't I just eat the donut now and then I'll exercise later? See what happens? And you have the donut and then you do exercise maybe a couple times, but after that you eat the donut and you think, well, I'm going to exercise anyway, but then you don't exercise and your brain clicks in and goes, hey, I get the benefit of not doing the thing, anyway, I'm just going to get the donut no matter what. So therefore, I don't have to do the exercise and I can just get the donut. So it's not a good system, right? Concocted rewards don't work. Okay, so what do you do instead? Well, first of all, you have to recognize that if it's a good habit, then it's going to have good repercussions. And they're going to be immediate. There are immediate rewards to every action that you perform, bar none. Right? Some people say, well, I'm going to study every day this week because I have an exam coming up and the reward is when I get the exam mark back. Well, that is part of the reward for sure. But if you're going to study every day this week, then maybe you need to come up with a reward that is intrinsic to the studying that then will benefit you long term. So, let's say you're studying math. What's the best way to study math? Well, the best way to study math is to read a page, try and understand what it's saying, do one of the practice problems at the bottom. Look up the answer. Did you get the answer right? Did you get the answer wrong? If you didn't get the answer right, then that's an immediate result. Okay, I didn't understand it. So therefore you go back and you read the parts that you need to know more about, and then you do the problem again, the same problem even, and then you get the answer right. That's the reward. When you get the answer right, you are rewarded. Does it have anything to do with the exam? Well, in the long run, yes, but not immediately, right? You're not thinking about the exam when you're doing the problems and looking up the answer and finding out which ones you got right, which ones you got wrong. So studying, yes, it has long-term repercussions, but it has an immediate reward as well. You understand more and you can answer those questions, and that's the point, right? There's other things that, exercise, they say, exercise is a long-term thing. Really? Then why is it that weightlifters really get excited when after they finish their exercise flexing in the mirror? The reason is because they can see the result immediately. So there is a reward for every action that is, bar none. There is absolutely an action or a reward for every action. You just have to be interested enough and consistent enough to recognize it. So how do you recognize it? Well, you got to start asking yourself some questions. First question, why do I want to perform this action in the first place? If it's an exercise thing, why? Do you want to have a healthier heart? Do you want to be more physically active? Do you want to, have a more desirable body? Whatever it is, what is the reason for you performing the action? What are the long-term benefits? Or is it cardiovascular health? Is it strength? Is it balance? Whatever it is, what are the long-term benefits of doing that action? Thirdly, what are the short-term benefits? Right? There's going to be short-term benefits to every action you do. Otherwise, then nothing would ever change, right? If there's no short-term benefits to performing an action, then the action is useless. You do the action, nothing happens. Well, that's stupid. It's not going to work. It doesn't happen that way. And most people will say, if you want something to change, do something. It doesn't matter what it is. You do something, something will happen. So your action is going to have some kind of benefit if it's a positive habit. And fourthly, you have to consider how you feel after performing the action. If it's an exercise thing, great. If it's a sales call, great. If it's brushing your teeth, great. All these things you have to look at and decide what is it that what are the effects on my emotions when I'm doing this? How do I feel after I perform the action? And in fact, sometimes you might actually have to perform it a few times before you actually can answer all these questions, right? Because you're going to have to learn how you feel and what are the repercussions of actually performing the action. All right, then once you've got a list of all those things from answering your questions, choose one or two of those things to focus on when you're performing the action. Just focus on them, right? Okay, I want to have clean teeth. I like the feeling of my teeth being smooth. I like the fact that my breath is fresh. I like the fact that my spouse or partner wants to be close to me after I've brushed my teeth. Whatever it is, there are those benefits, and they're going to be immediate. Once you've chosen them and you start focusing on them, then if you are motivated to do that action in the future, then you're on it. Those are the action, or those are the rewards that are going to want you to perform the action. If it's not enough, then maybe you didn't choose the right rewards to focus on. There are other benefits. Look at your list. Add some things, or focus on something different, or look a little deeper and to see if there's something else that is going to push you to want to do that action. All right, so let's give you an example. I talked about push-ups in the past. Let's say you want to do 10 push-ups in the morning. So what's going to benefit? What kind of benefit are you going to get from doing 10 push-ups? Well, if you're not used to doing push-ups, then you're going to feel some burning in your chest and arms after you finish doing your push-ups. You're going to feel stronger because you actually did it. You can even look in the mirror and say, hey, look, I've got some definition. I can actually see something there now, right? These are immediate benefits of immediate rewards of doing the 10 push-ups. How about something a little obtuse? How about listening to somebody when they're talking to you before giving them a response? What's the immediate reward that you're going to get from that? Well, have you ever been listened to properly, where people actually listen to you and then reflect back what you said and then answer the question or add to the conversation? How do you feel? Right? You feel great and you feel pleasant towards that person. So if you're the one that's doing the listening, then you're going to be able to see that difference in the person you're listening to. That's a reward, right? And you're going to be able to develop a closer relationship with that person just because you're doing an action. Action, reward. Doesn't matter what it is. Any action is going to give you a reward. And you just have to focus on the action that you want, or the reward that you want, and have it linked intrinsically. That means that unless you perform the action, you're not going to get the reward. Because if you choose something like I talked about before, if you choose something that isn't related, then you need to do all those other concocted calisthenics or things to try and make the two link together. Whereas if you have something that's intrinsic, then when you do it, you get the reward. You don't have to worry about it. You're not going to be able to avoid it. And that's where you want to be. And of course, when you think about it, this is how bad habits are formed, right? You stop for the donut because you're in a hurry and you get a dopamine hit. You feel good. Suddenly the habit of stopping for a donut starts to get built in because the reward is immediate. That's what you want to avoid when it comes to bad habits. But when it comes to good habits, you want to focus on those immediate intrinsic rewards.